Welcome to Certified Clarity, where the topics may vary, but it is all about clarity. Life is full of success and failure, with many ups and downs. How do we savor the successes and see the lessons in our failure? Join us as we discuss overcoming adversity, taking full advantage of opportunity, and turning pain into purpose.
Hello and welcome to Certified Clarity. I'm so excited about my next guest. Her name is Shana Robinson. She is amazing in my eyes. I've been a fan for quite some time, consuming her content on social media. She is a woman's woman, a certified speaker through ETA. Also, she's also a life coach. But you know what? She's here on the line. Let's let her tell us who she is. Shana, who are you? And welcome.
Oh, hi, Brian. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you.
I'm ecstatic to be here. So today you guys are definitely going to learn. Brian met me as a life coach, and we are going to talk about the rebranding journey of evolving from a life coach and into a personal branding and image consultant to curvy women of influence. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't work with men as well, but my heart is extremely passionate about seeing confidence exude through style on a curvy woman of influence.
Powerful, powerful. Tell me, what do you think your area of expertise is?
My area of expertise is absolutely, it comes in three forms. So the first one is confidence. As a life coach, through version 1 of Rebrand You, I learned that I had an innate ability to bring out the confidence in people that I met with. Through the process, that a lot of them lacked self-esteem, but that they were absolutely passionate about finding out truly who they were, what their purpose was. And we all know that when we find purpose, we find direction, thus finding confidence.
Yes.
So then, once we found it, then what? Then that brings me into the next phase of Rebrand You, which is where we look at personal style. So something that I've always been complimented on was how I dress, how I put myself together. And I wasn't realizing that this was an area that other people were lacking in, that they could also use some assistance in.
Yeah.
And what we know is that when we put on our favorite glasses, our favorite suit, our favorite dress, we feel like $1,000,000 and we feel like we can conquer the world. Yes. So Rebrand You has evolved into image consulting and personal styling, so that we can actually help people once they've attained their confidence. It's time to boost it so that you can go out into the world and be your brand all the time. This brings us into phase 3. Yes. And phase 3 is all about really creating that personal brand. Yes. So when you can create your personal brand, there's a lot of us in the entrepreneurial world. And even if you don't and you work at a job, there's still a brand as long as you're living. What is that brand communicating to the world and people that you know? A lot of us don't really take the time to be cognizant about what we're saying and the impression that we put out into the world. So this is where we help people truly define what their personal brand is and execute on it to make sure that it's concise and consistent.
See, I like that. I like that idea. And it's hard not to think about the fact that we're talking about image. We got to start talking about body language. So how do you dwell, if you will, into body language, nonverbal communication?
I think as a life coach, what I learned was that I had to read. I had to read body language. I had to be able to, for example, if you are doing a coaching session over the phone, yes, I can't see your physical cues. So I had to listen to the way that my clients would breathe, the way that they would pause, when their intonation would change. And I would have to be able to understand what that meant or give them permission to say, I need you to tell me what this means. So now when I'm working with my clients, I talk about coaching for confidence in the mirror. So if I take a client shopping, what's happening is I remember having a client and she's a gorgeous woman. You'll see her featured on my website and a lot of that. But what she was doing that she wasn't cognizant of was that she was putting her hands in front of her stomach every single time that she would try on an outfit. And so I pointed it out to her and she didn't even recognize that she was doing it. So she was having a dialogue with herself in the mirror, but also having a dialogue with me, yes, without us verbally talking about it. So once I was able to point out for her and ask her to move her hands from her stomach, we got to see her vulnerability to come through. Right. And then because equipped as a life coach, I was able to really target in and open up the discussion about what she was feeling about herself and her body in that moment. By the end of it, she had tried on things she never thought she could. She picked out an outfit she never would have, and her hands were no longer in front of her stomach.
Got it. And so to make sure I'm clear, that gesture indicated uncomfortability. She was covering her vital organs.
She was insecure about her stomach. So she's had 3 kids. She's a young mom, and her body just doesn't look like it used to anymore. Right. And so what a lot of women tend to do is we cover up, right?
That's good.
Men too, but a lot of women tend to cover up, and we just don't believe in that at Rebrand You. We believe that, it's about learning to dress your body. Right. We don't hide things. We don't cover them up. We learn how to educate. We learn how to dress them. I'm heavy on style education because when I'm not with you, what are you going to do? Are you going to go back to your old ways and put on things that mask you? Right. I lived a life of masking myself, not through clothes, but in multiple other ways, which I'm sure we'll dive into a little bit more.
Absolutely.
But I hid in a completely different way who I authentically was. So now it's all about being able to teach women how to authentically dress themselves for confidence. And I found myself when I learned how to dress myself, and I learned how to respect myself from that too.
You found yourself when you learned how to dress and you respected yourself.
Yeah.
How powerful was that find?
I think I didn't realize when it was happening. I think like any of us who are entrepreneurs, a lot of times we come back and we end up teaching on what our story was.
Right.
So when I was going through it at 24, I didn't know I was going through it.
Right.
So my story really talks about going from a Barstar to an Allstar. Wow. I have a friend of mine who says I went from being a partier to a preacher. And I don't preach in the biblical sense, but definitely using my voice to share with people and minister through my shortcomings about how they can rebrand themselves so that they don't have to stay stuck anymore.
Right.
So in my Barstar days, I was highly valued for my looks, for my body, for my energy. Anybody who's met me knows that I'm a huge ball of energy. And so it's very easy to attract people. What I didn't realize was that I was attracting all the wrong people for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
Which led me into situations that I wasn't necessarily proud of. And so, I realized that men were validating me through my body, and I continued to allow them to do so.
I understand.
And it wasn't until I made 2 shifts. So the first one was that I got fired from my job.
Ooh.
And I was working for my cousin's husband. And to this day, I don't know exactly why, but I'm grateful. I can now say I'm grateful for that because that led me into life coaching. I looked for jobs. I hadn't finished university. And what was I going to do? All of my peers were graduating. I felt embarrassed.
Sure.
And I said, you know what? I believe truly that God himself said type in life coaching. I did. And I recognized this woman, and she was hosting a 12-week summer intensive program.
Okay.
And so I found it on a Thursday night. Yeah. I made the call Friday morning, and class was starting Monday morning.
Wow.
So when I called, she didn't answer. I left a message, and I don't know why I had made the decision to be persistent about this, but I said that I was going to call every hour until I got her.
Wow.
So 10 o'clock on the dot, she calls me. She said, I wasn't even coming into my office today. I don't know what told me to come in, but because of your tenacity, I'm going to make a spot for you. Can you come down? I went to my parents and I said, I need your credit card. And I found my life's calling. I got to go register. And they were like, okay, gave me their credit card. I went and paid for it and was in class on Monday morning.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So from that, my instructor saw something in me. I was the youngest person in the class. And she said, I really want you to join my team. Wow. I joined her team, worked for her for 13 months.
Oh, wow. You got a job.
Yes, I got a job out of it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
what I realized through that process was that about halfway through, the dream that I had, I was never going to be able to see come to fruition working for her.
I see.
I had become her glorified secretary.
Mm.
And while I got to learn a lot of things, it just wasn't on track for what I wanted.
Yes.
So I spent every day learning as much as I could about the business until I finally left after my 1-year review.
I love that.
Yeah, so that was one big turn. And around that time, what had happened was I was also bartending.
Okay.
And so I was a life coach during the day and a bartender at night.
Yes.
And as much as I could mix great drinks, that was not a good mix for my life.
Right, I can imagine.
And so I was dancing at one of the clubs, and this guy came up to me and said, "Hey, you're that like Shana Robinson life coach person."
Wow.
And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I just wanted to let you know that I love your post. You're doing a great thing. Please don't stop." And it was in that moment that I realized the responsibility of what I had stepped into and that I needed to walk away from the club.
Wow, powerful. It's so much that you're saying that's blowing my mind. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a firm advocate of the paid internship, AKA job. So when you decide what industry you want to go into, I am a firm advocate of going into that industry, finding a place where you can work, because I presume, tell me if I'm right, there's a lot that you learn being paid that it would cost you a lot of money to learn on your own.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I still had to, to take that up a notch. I still had to make a decision.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be the constant theme throughout our talk today, which is that I had to make a choice when I said yes. I had to make a choice when it was time to recognize that my vision was more important. I had to make a decision when I recognized that I had hit the cap of what I could learn from her.
Right.
And then definitely going out into the world, because it was really funny looking back on it now. When I started, which was then Electric Lady Coaching Services, I was getting maybe like 2 or 3 likes on a post, like "thank you for Facebook timeline," which goes back and shows us. I started killing it. I was like, oh, people love me. But what I didn't recognize back then was that didn't translate into income at all.
Can't deposit likes.
At all. So, thankfully I was in a position where I was allowed to just make mistakes and figure out what business was. But because I had that security, I didn't go all in. And I could look back on that now and say that.
And that was a powerful move, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, okay, so we've connected 2 passions, right? You talked about the Barstar at night, the Allstar, or from Barstar to Allstar, right? So we talked about some dark days, and I'll leave those where they are. But obviously, based on the way that you articulated them, they have shaped you and molded you. And is that part of why you feel empowering women is important?
I think that what ends up happening is when we find a lane that is dedicated to us, if you're truly in the right lane, you will look at your client and you will see you 5 years ago or 2 years ago, or a different version of yourself. So what happens now is, I just had a client fly in from Michigan about 2 weeks ago to do her brand shoot with us. And you would think, oh, it's just a photo shoot and it's clothing. Well, no. We had breakdowns, we had challenges, we had in-depth conversations, because it was her stepping into a new phase of herself. And this is not uncommon when people come to work with me. You may think you're getting one thing, and then after the process, you realize that I worked on your heart.
That's it. Come on.
Intimately, as I worked on your wardrobe.
Yes.
So, I think that when you're really in the right lane, you realize that you are looking at somebody who's going through what you went through. And if you've overcome it, it doesn't hurt you anymore, but you know how to speak to it better. And if it hurts you still, you know that you got some work to do.
You're not
right?
over. Yeah.
Because we're constantly working on our craft, but we have to constantly evolve to be a better coach or consultant or whatever we do for our clients as well. So I don't think that I chose this. I think it chose me.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Absolutely.
And I'm just so passionate about people's hearts. Like I love fashion and I love confidence, but when I can hear, I spoke with this woman this past weekend who was just, we were talking about branding her business, but by the end of the conversation, I said to her, I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't tell you that your heart was broken, and
Wow.
I need to work on your heart first.
Wow.
And I said, I don't care when you start or if you work with me, but I need you to do this in the next year or you will not elevate, because I understand being confined to your pain.
That's good. Confined to your pain. I get it. I get it. I get it. So let's go there. Let's go there. So let's talk about that pain.
Ooh. And this is what my clients feel like when I ask them that. I think pain comes in multiple forms and multiple shapes. So when I talked about being a Barstar and that lifestyle, that led me to, multiple pregnancies over 4 years at a young age, of which I didn't keep. And I know that in sharing that with people, some will respect me and some will not. And I'm okay with that, because I'm here for the people who have either gone through it and still carry a lot of shame and guilt and self-resentment and unforgiveness about that. The one that I would have kept, I miscarried. And so just realizing that it wasn't the time for that. And so I can look back on that, but I didn't realize until I really started narrowing into my lane through Game Changers. I was on the phone with Chris Daniel, who was my coach at the time, and he said to me, you're so polished. Tell me the truth.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't want to go there, because I hadn't realized that I had worked so hard to build an image that no longer reflected the Barstar Shana.
Right.
I wiped her out.
Yeah.
And so to go there, and especially with a man on top of it, and to speak your truth about decisions that you had made.
Yes.
The powerful thing about this was that I realized on the call with him that I was telling him the story verbatim to how I tell the story.
Wow. Wow.
Because that's what we do. We don't live life through our experiences. So I don't call it my story anymore. I can share my experience with you because I believe that we don't validate and give our experience the respect that it deserves when we call it a story.
I see.
So it was about, we had our call at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was about 10 o'clock at night. I was sitting watching TV, and Brian, I just started bawling.
Wow.
For no reason. And little did I know that the conversation that I had earlier that day was the first time that I was honest with myself about the shame that I had, the disdain I had for myself, the fact that I was desensitized to my pain.
Wow.
So I said to my boyfriend, I need you to not just do nothing. I need to, whatever this is, I need to deal with it.
Wow.
And I gave myself that space and that permission to have a real conversation with myself about how I felt about that Shana.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to totally embrace this Shana until I had done that. Yeah.
That's so good. That is so powerful. I'm so happy that you're telling me this. I appreciate your transparency. I appreciate the intimacy of this interaction. And I too understand what you're talking about, having a similar background. You try to outlive it. You try to outlive it. But the truth is, even though there were decisions we made, God can still use it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He can still use it. Yeah, he can still use it. And so now it becomes an issue of courage and character. Can we convey it to people and utilize it? And so I appreciate the courage, because I know it takes a lot of courage to do that. Okay, so we transitioned from working for family, which that's a story in and of itself. You went into a new field, found a job, found a mentor, had a paid internship. Some people call that a job, but you realized that there was a ceiling. You can only go so far. You recognize that the glass ceiling, if you will, you get all the information you can get from her, and now it's time to step out on your own and become an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Right. Now that's a whole new ball of wax, right? So tell me, give me some ups and some downs as an entrepreneur.
Okay, so as I was talking about the likes and all of this, what I realized was that I was going through an emotional journey as well. So what was happening was, thanks to my partner, I was given the space to just go out and do what I wanted to do with this business. But I didn't have an understanding and a scope of, I was taught how to coach, and I was a great coach. I was not taught the business of coaching.
Right.
What happens is that a lot of times we have a skill set or we get a certificate in something and we think we're golden, and we realize that I don't know how to invoice people. I don't know how to charge them. I don't have policies. I don't even have a brand. I don't even have a website. I have nothing.
Yes.
So that was life.
Yes.
And so then you start, and sometimes you don't even have the income or the funding to start with what you want to. So you start with what you can.
Right.
So what I decided was that, well, actually two things happened. One was that I got approached by someone to be in a magazine here in Winnipeg. And they wanted to do an interview with me because they liked what I was putting out. So I said yes. So from that, what happened was I did a photo shoot with a great photographer who has been my photographer ever since. Black and gold photography in Winnipeg. Joel Boyley is amazing. And then I also got to work with a content writer who wrote the article. Good. So what happened from that was instantly I was kind of forming this little team.
Yes.
So after the article was done, I approached both of them about some freelance work. And then there was this girl, Monica Saramo, who is a graphic designer here in Winnipeg. And anything that is hot and young and urban in the city, she has touched. So I reached out to her, and she has been my graphic designer and web developer ever since.
Okay.
So we started working on the brand of that. The other thing that happened was I actually took a 6-month hiatus from social media. So while I was developing and transitioning from that Barstar, Shana, I didn't want people to look at me and say I was incredible because of who I used to be, right?
Yes.
And so I needed that permission and that space to evolve without judgment.
Right. I like that.
So I went off of social media. I started building Rebrand You.
Sure.
And then I was asked by this guy who runs something called Young Entrepreneurs Society here in Winnipeg.
Okay.
He said, we're putting on a 2-day conference. We want you to speak at it.
Wow.
And I was the only female out of 8 speakers. And so when I went to it, I was the only speaker who was asked to speak over my time through.
Wow.
Which was really, really powerful. So right in that moment, I realized that I have something here.
You do.
And I'm very good at this. And there's so much more to learn. And I have to learn the business.
Yes.
So the challenges of that, as much as that was a great day, that was also the day that my website had launched. And the infrastructure of the website did not work. So I had about 40 leads that had come in for people who wanted to do follow-up sessions.
Wow.
I got none of that information. So you're like, well, how do you know? You know because people come up to you and say, I wanted to work with you. But that was an instant credibility loss.
Right. Yeah.
So there's so many challenges. I mean, when we talk about failing, I have failed immensely in multiple areas, from not coaching on the right things, not following through, giving clients too much leeway with payments and then walking away, coaching people and the sob stories that come along with it. What I realized through doing Game Changers, for example, was that it's a huge investment.
It is.
And it's a lot of money.
It is.
But what you get out of it, if you work the program, is going to speak volumes for you.
Yes.
And each one of us that goes into that program has a decision to make the minute that we swipe our card.
Right.
Am I going to walk away with something or am I not?
Yeah.
And I didn't have the money for it, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And this was just under a year ago. I did not have the funds, but I knew when I sat in that room at P7D that I had to find the money, and I was going to do whatever I needed to do because I wanted it.
Yes.
And so I attribute that now to the way that I work with my clients now. If you don't have it, that's totally fine. I'm here, but I do not make any concessions anymore because I know what sacrifice brought me.
True.
And I know that when you have to walk away from something, it might hurt, but it also brings you another blessing.
Right. And it gives you an incentive, right? You want to give them something to reach toward. And there is free content that there's available for them. So there is stuff that they can consume for free. But you're right. This is your livelihood. This is how you eat. You can't put likes in the bank. You may mention that earlier. You can't put likes in the bank. All right. So then, okay, well, then let me ask you this question. Now, you said it's been a little less than a year. And as a result of Game Changers, as a result of P7D, you are an ETA certified speaker. So let's say that came out to being pretty good, right?
I am. I'm first Canadian, first female certified speaker. So it's just amazing to be able to, one, have gone through something. I haven't completed university. I'm definitely going back now that I know exactly what I want to do. But it was like a personal win for me.
It was.
Right? The work that went through it, and I can't negate the fact that all of the coaches were amazing.
Yes.
In that process. And some, I think through anything, you're going to connect with somebody. You want to find somebody who you can align with, who totally understands you, understands what you're doing, understands how to speak to you through that process. For me, Coach Chris was totally that person, who just always had my back when I was stubborn, when I was upset, when I was, resistant. He always knew how to kind of say, okay, let's bring it back and let's move forward. So the Game Changers coaches and all of that, they definitely worked with me because I'm not always easy to work with.
I'm laughing. I'm not agreeing. I'm just laughing.
No, hey, I give you full permission to laugh because I think anybody who knows me knows that when you are a passionate person,
that's it.
Your passion is going to come out in multiple forms.
Sure.
So your passion is going to come out through your gift. It's going to come out in when you need to stand up for what you believe in. Right. It's going to come out in your direction.
Yes.
I was just speaking to a new client this morning who just signed with us, and she's going through some of those similar challenges as far as the direction of her business. Yes. And, the people who are funding her are saying, we need you to do this. And I said to her, yeah, but you actually need to do this. And I said, you have to make the decision. And I think this has been the biggest lesson that I've learned in even just the past 2 weeks is that nobody, I don't care who you pay to help you get to your goal.
Yes.
Nobody can speak to you on your final decision.
Right.
And so I said to her, if you want to work with us, I'm here to champion you. And if there's a better alternative for you, I'm here to champion you. That's so either golden, but you have to decide.
Right. That's right. That's extremely good. So I want to go back really quick. How did you convince that team to work for you? Because you said there was no money. So how did you convince them to do that?
So my team back then was very good. In the sense that, one, transparency is super important. Okay. So come out the gate saying, I have nothing. Just, I don't have it. And so if you can't work with me, I totally get it. But if you are willing to work something out with me, then, that would be fantastic. Okay. So they were always okay with that. I think that when people can get on board with what you're doing, and this is really important for entrepreneurs in the sense that if you don't believe enough in what you do, nobody else will. If you look at people and you feel entitled to people helping you, people will run the other way. And then, something that I learned through boot camp, which was the first thing that my first encounter with ETA, they taught us about how to find a team back then. But I didn't realize back then that everything that they were teaching us, we just learned, and I have a more established team now. The difference was that I was in the wrong position.
Okay.
And I was in the wrong position because I, one, didn't know my lane. Two, didn't know what I had to offer to my clients or my team.
Yes.
And then three, I wasn't working hard enough. And so I was putting in work, but I wasn't doing the work, right?
And that's interesting. Please expound on that, because I think a lot of people may have missed it, to include myself.
Sure. So the work is, so for example, my team that I have right now, we have literally gone from, I thought when I entered Game Changers, I thought I wanted to be the coach's coach. Nowhere did I see styling and image consulting coming out of this at all. But there were a few things along the way that led us into this direction. So then what happened was I had to make a decision in December, right? When you are rebranding your business, when you are switching a lane, what happens is that the income that you had from me coaching coaches, I had to stop. I had to go, I'm not taking on any new business in this lane because I no longer want to be known for it. So that got shut down.
Got it.
So then how is Shana generating income? Very difficult. You're not. And you still have to sustain life, right?
Yes.
But how you sustain life is through your livelihood or going back to get a job. And it's so crazy because I was stubborn about getting a job because I've been self-employed for like 2.5 years. But I said, you know what, if I have to, I will. And everywhere that I went was like, you're overqualified. We're not hiring you. So I was like, okay. So then I had to bet on me, right? So what ended up happening was I actually went into Le Chateau, which is where I got my first retail job. And I was just in there with a friend, you know, looking at clothes, because as a stylist, it's great to be out there and around the product. And I ran into my first hiring manager. So she said, look, I'm like in my early 30s. Look at all the things you're doing. I feel like I've wasted my life. I'm still here. And I said, okay, when I come back to Winnipeg, let's sit down and have a conversation. So we sat down, we got together, and she came over to my house. We had a glass of wine because that's heavily part of my brand, wine and champagne. And you know what, as we talked, I said, I would be doing you a disservice if I just coached you. She has an amazing gift and talent to create content.
I see.
And guess what Shana's weakness was?
Content.
Create content.
Wow. That's made in heaven.
Oh, so I called her the next day and I said, look, I think I know what you're supposed to do. I said, I think you're a content writer. And if you would like, I can help you learn the business of content writing and package you so you can put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Because I think you need to for yourself. She said, oh my goodness, can I start with you? And so this is what I'm talking about is if I didn't make the decision to rebrand, if I didn't make the decision to make sacrifice, if I didn't make the decision to start studying what it took to be a stylist, like actually do the business of styling and image consulting and personal branding, she never would have walked into my life. Right. And I've seen, CJ always talks about self-assessing. So if I didn't know that this was my one hang up, I never would have been able to open the doors up for that. But I didn't even have to open it up. She saw it. Yes. She said, I looked at your stuff and I think you could do a better job in this area.
Wow. So her gift was your goal.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And so from every day since then, she has been at my house after work and we have been building content. So my job is I'm the visionary. I come up with the concept. I'm the face of the company, and I also provide services in this lane. She is the content creator. She is the one who's like, I need you to post about this. I need you to do videos on this. I need you to, this is all the writing for the website, all of that. Then we have Monica, who's been with us forever, who is the web developer and the graphic designer. Yeah. So as I evolved and, I really realized I like luxury branding. I like metallics. I like blush colors. I like marble. I knew what I wanted. I just couldn't do it for myself. And a conversation you and I were having earlier was some of my branding pre this, it was good, but it was nowhere near where we are now because I wasn't operating in my lane. Yes. I definitely have an eye for things.
Sure.
But do I have the technical skill to do it? Not always.
Right.
So that's kind of our little team that we have. And then, we have another extension to the team, and she was attracted because I went into my favorite store, which is Dynamite Clothing. And I was taking a client in there to shop. So I was doing my thing and I was just trying to record because we got to document what we're doing.
Of course.
And she said, do you want me to hold that for you while you're styling her? And I said, that would be amazing. And then she said to me, I want to know more about what you're doing. Same thing. I'm young. I don't feel like I'm living my life out. I'm turning 30 this year, So I took her for lunch and we spoke. And she said, any way I can be involved, I would love to be involved. She has a background in business admin.
Gotcha.
So she was actually over at my house yesterday and she purged my whole house. She loves organization to a T.
How about that?
So I was like, keeping checks and balances and, all of that. Like I need somebody to keep me in check. Yes. So she's now that person.
That's good. That's good.
So when you are operating in your gift, people are attracted to that. So do the work.
That's good. So when you are operating in your gift, people are attracted to that. So let me ask this, and I'm curious for my own edification, what incentive do you offer to them? Do you incentivize them through the part of, are you going to say they get a part of the business down the road? How do you do that?
So I heavily believe that I found myself when I found my purpose. So under the umbrella of Rebrand You, they each have a branch.
Gotcha.
So Tara, for example, who's our content writer, we just went to an event 2 weeks ago. It's the largest female empowerment event here in Winnipeg. Okay. And we created a networking opportunity for ourselves, which was that they had a headshot lounge.
Yes.
And so there's 1,500 women that went to this, right? How am I going to connect with 1,500 women when there isn't networking opportunity? So I went Tara and I went and we posted up in front of that space. And as women were coming through the line, we made it our point to introduce ourselves to each single woman, hand out our business cards, get theirs, or get their information any way we could.
Sure. Good idea.
What happened from that was it was really amazing. Tara has never done anything like that before. And so I got her own business cards. And I said, if people need your services, let's put together what your packages are. Under the Rebrand You services, we have something that's a package where there's Tara, myself, and Monica. But if somebody just needs one of us, we all have our independent services.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so I might not be able to pay you directly, but the one is that I'm an amazing saleswoman. So what happens is when I get on the phone, because I do all of our sales, if I feel like this is a Tara sale, I will sell for her.
Good.
If it's a sale, I will sell for her. If it's a sale, I will make that sale. And if it's just me, I'll just sell me.
Awesome. So independently come together, they're strong. And if it is a Tara sale, do you get a piece of that, or is that all Tara's?
So what we've done is I've worked it out to, I make it an individual process with each team member. Mm-hmm. Some people are like, I would like to be paid for the work that I do for you. Yeah. And some people are like, take a referral fee, let's call it even, keep it moving. So I have different agreements with each person based off of their needs.
Yes.
Because we all are at different stages of what we require. So I would never take away funds from somebody who needs to pay their rent, for example. You know what I mean? Or there's some people who are like, I would never have this opportunity had you not given me this opportunity. So I will continue to service you on whatever you need, but I will just take 100% of, work that I'm doing for other clients. I'm totally fine with that.
That makes complete sense to me. I like it. I like it. So you're not only are you giving them, you're partnering with people. You're not lording over them. You're partnering with people. You're letting them operate in their own gift. You're letting them shine.
Yes.
See, that to me is what it's all about. Yeah.
It's extremely important because my brand would not be where it is without them.
Yes.
And I want the world to know about them because we as a collective do this for other people now. You know, so yeah, we're at about our 8-week mark, and we have another month to go until it's like we are fully rocking. But we're already booked out in business till April.
That's what I'm talking about. See, I think you got to also, you say you're documenting this, right? This blueprint? Yes. This is a nice blueprint. I like what you're saying. Yeah. So you partner with people. Everyone has skin in the game, right? So whatever they work, if they work, they get paid. If they don't work, they don't get paid.
Exactly.
I love it. Nobody's sitting back chilling. No.
And if you are, everybody knows that, you know what, as the parent of the company.
Yes.
Right, if you want to be here, then be here. And if you don't, then it's okay. Move on to the next thing for yourself. I don't want to keep anyone where they don't want to be, but I know how much I sacrifice to be where I need to be. So I need to see somebody else's sacrifice as much as they want this. The other thing that I learned down the road, actually, from one of the other game changers, Brian Thomas, we were on a call and he talked about incentives and understanding what motivates your team. So all of my team loves travel. Yes. So me being able to say, you know what, once a quarter, if we hit goals, let's go somewhere. Nice. And you know, all of us are in relationships. I don't want it to just be us. Let's take our partners with us because we all believe in, you know, you're taking time away from your man when you come to work with me. Sure. Or from, you know what I mean? So I want them to also know that I'm invested in their girlfriends or their wives. I want them to know that I'm considerate of them and how they feel too, and that it's a buy-in not just for me, but them as well.
That makes powerful sense to me. What do you think your strongest personality trait is?
Ooh, just one?
Maybe two, maybe three, you know.
I think that what I will say, because it's not really about me, it's about what we can take away from today. Sure. So I think the biggest thing is, one, if you have not done the 4 animals disc assessment with Chris Daniel, you need to do it. Okay. Because that taught me my personality type, which is, you know, I'm a flamingo first, so that's what you're seeing, all this bubbliness. But I realized that in business, my flamingo was not serving me at all. Okay. It was really hurting me, actually, because I cared too much and I was too empathetic and all of that. And so learning how to really bring out the different animals in myself has been one of the greatest things. So understanding that I can be adaptive as a gorilla when I'm upset, I'm mad, or whatever, I've just put it as, let me become adaptive as a gorilla when I'm in a business situation.
I like that.
And when I'm in relationship with my clients, I'm coaching them or we're discussing, I can be a flamingo. But you know, or when I'm presenting, I should be a flamingo. Like understanding where you should be what. When I'm managing the project for my clients, I'm a turtle.
Yeah. Very studious. Yes. Okay.
So I think that's the biggest thing, and understanding where they come out. You know, what I love about the DISC assessment is that when I read it, I saw for myself where I was weak, and it was a mirror of me. And instead of looking at that and feeling like threatened by that or insecure about that, I literally, it's in my desk and I reference it probably once a day. And when I'm in my feelings or when I'm like, something's gone wrong, I look back at it and I'm like, it probably went wrong because I did this. So, you know, I think that's one of the biggest things is you need to be fun and enjoyable. Like I love having fun. I love to be personable. But I think that what my clients would say about me is that I'm real and I'm raw. And so I am not afraid to tell you the truth about business. I'm not afraid to tell you the truth about what I've been through. And I'm not afraid to tell you the truth about where I think you should go. And whether we're a good fit or not, because sometimes you're not a good fit for somebody.
See, then that's honest. It took me a long time to understand that I need to say no to some customers. It took me a long time to say that. Yeah. It's hard, right?
It's hard, but it's what you realize is that if you have taken on clients that are not the right fit for you, they become a headache for you and you become a headache for them.
That's
and
right.
So it's a constant strain. And it normally ends up in a parting of ways anyways.
Right. Negatively. Yes.
So I would prefer, to say to someone, we could try this out, but this is another reason why the 4 Animals is so great. What we do with our clients is we put all of our clients through it now.
Really? So, okay. Yeah. So everybody go through the DISC assessment. That's powerful. Yeah.
So when they go through the 4 Animals, if I know that a client is a turtle and I have a difficult time working with turtles, I have to set up the business to understand that when my turtle comes to me, I need to give them this whole welcome package that has everything outlined with week 1, we're doing this. Week 2, we do this. This is how you contact me. This is what this is going to look like. If I'm working with a gorilla, they don't care. They want to swipe their card and they're like,
right, get it done.
And just call me on the things that are necessary for me to tell you about. Other than that, I don't need any input. So it's allowed me to know how to better work with my clients so that we don't have any friction. Or we can always refer to our animal type, right? When, sorry, I was being, too much of a gorilla and I probably needed to come back to my flamingo in that moment.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
you codify a language.
Oh, I think just in BU, we've seen the change since P70 back in April, that it changed and revolutionized the language of BU.
Yeah,
right?
It has. BU University, yes, it has.
So I think that, for me, recognizing how powerful it was just personally, I wanted my clients to have that. I had somebody message me up to this morning and said, hey, what's that personality type thing? Can you send it to me? So I think it's highly important that when you're in business, you learn as much as you can about yourself, but it's also important to learn as much as you can about your audience.
That's smart.
And understand who they are, what makes them tick. Yeah. When do you push them? When do you not push them? I'm a good mix of I'm going to push you and it will be uncomfortable, but I'm going to love you on the other side of that and through the whole process.
Right.
But I'm just upfront about that now.
Right. But it has to happen.
If you could go to any other stylist, but what I'm telling you is that no other stylist is me, and no other stylist has the things I've gone through, has the scope of understanding of your pain,
right.
Have gone through those. When I talk about targeting curvy women of influence, there's a reason why.
I'm listening. The
reason why is that I looked at fashion, and what happens is we have high fashion, which is for a certain body type, right?
Sure.
So it's like no curves typically, and our world is catered to that body type. Then we have, full-figured women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love them.
Right.
But guess what? Curvy women get thrown into that category.
I see.
And so what was happening is that I was meeting a lot of women who are professional women who were saying, look, Shana, I'm Googling like professional clothing for a curvy woman and I cannot find it. And it only takes me to plus size or full figure sites.
Wow.
And that's not my body type. So there is a lack of representation of a curvy woman. And so I want to explain, because what we're working on is revolutionizing the language of body types, body style, all of that.
I like that.
That you can be curvy at a size 2,
sure.
And you can be curvy at a size 21.
Yes, you can.
It's about silhouette. So you are either bottom blessed, so you got a nice, little booty on you and you got nice thighs to you, but up top you're, much flatter. Okay. So you're bottom blessed. You could be top blessed. We've all seen women like that. that are very top heavy. They're very blessed up there. And so that's their silhouette. Or you're equally blessed. So you've got that hourglass shape to you. So we believe that if you're a size 2 and you're equally blessed, I just want to teach you how to dress that body.
Sure. Sure.
Because there's a lot of limitations that as a curvy woman we have. For example, I can't walk into a store and here's a better one. I got a tailored suit made when we were supposed to go to the BU Gala. And I was really excited about it. Anyways, it was canceled or postponed. So my suit had sat in my closet. So New Year's came and I was going out and I said, you know what, I'm going to wear it tonight.
Yes.
Well, Shana put on a little bit more weight. I didn't think so, but I gained a little weight. And because it's not stretchy, I couldn't, and I wanted to dance, I couldn't wear my pants.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
So what I learned in that was, other women are clearly experiencing this.
Sure.
So how do we deal with it? So as I began to do my work and really research this lane, I realized that a lot of people were talking about it and nobody had a solution for it.
And you have that solution. You found
I
it.
have a solution.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. That's good. That's good. Yeah. So I appreciate all the iterations that you have. Tell me one thing. Tell me, what is your greatest success story? Through all the different iterations of your business, what's one of your better, not the best, but one of your better success stories?
That's a good question.
Sure. Now, obviously, your story is amazing.
Thank you. I think my biggest success I would have to attribute to my clients. I think that watching them evolve, watching them trust the process, watching you build something when you truly give it your all, and then you put people into the process,
yes,
and that the process works,
yes,
is the best feeling.
Wow.
One of the biggest mistakes that I made in prior business was that I didn't have a process. I did all the front end work.
Okay.
And I didn't do the meticulous, like what happens along the way.
I like that.
So now, if you were in my house right now, you would see that I have stickies all up on my wall. I have folders with each part of the process, what happens at each step of the process, how to mitigate situations when they happen.
That's good. Yeah. And what you call process, I call systems.
Systems and processes.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have a system for how you acquire the customer. You have to have a system for a high volume of customers. You have to have a system for when the customer is angry, when they're upset. What's the return policy? What's the complaint policy? What's the policy that you have in place to keep up with the customers once they've done and experienced your process or your system? They love it. How do you stay in contact with them? All of those are systems. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Giving yourself permission to not overthink.
Yes.
But to at least start with something, and this was something I can't take credit for, but in Game Changers, they said, what's your one thing? Like,
one thing.
Start with your one thing and you can build out from there. I didn't take that advice. If I'm going to be really transparent, I have built my whole business with all of my services in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But it was because I had a team that I could heavily rely on.
And that's unusual. Most people don't have that. And so I'm really flabbergasted. I'm so impressed with you. I'm so impressed that you were able to build a team so quickly and you guys are gelling that fast. But that says a lot about your leadership, though. A lot about your leadership.
And that just comes from making mistakes.
Yes.
Right? We talked about that before. I have so many failures. I have so many, clients that were unhappy. Like we can't not talk about that and talk about success. And so, I have a lot of people who will call me and just say, look, I've been watching what you've been doing. I need some advice. I'm super open to chatting with anyone for like 15 minutes. Anything like that, I have, a slight check in on. But you know what? I think that at the end of the day, you have to be honest, and it's the biggest gift that we could give each other as entrepreneurs is saying to one another, like, yes, there's this ego side of us that needs to make it look like everything's okay.
Yes.
But if I could tell you that there's been some months that I've been late on my rent, if I could tell you that there's been some months that I was eating once a day, if I could tell you that there's been some months that I just am taking my credit and going in the hole, but I'm like, I get that this will make me stronger and I'm willing to go there. And I get that there's some decisions that are on my table, because when you start operating in your gift, opportunities start coming to you. And that even though you asked for something, it might not be what you want. And you still have to make the decision about what to do.
Yes.
Nobody can teach you that. But if we share that with each other, then we have some strength.
Right.
And the other thing is, make sure you have an emotional team behind you too.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I call it your accountability accord. Absolutely.
And I call it my personal board of directors.
I love it. I love it.
You call it, do you have somebody on your roster that when you need to cry, you can call?
Yeah.
When you are pissed, you can call.
Yes.
That when you need like a financial, like I need to know I have $200 left. What do I do with it? And I got 3 things left to do and you don't know because you're too emotional. Who do you call?
See, this is real entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not about standing in front of the private plane or standing in front of the Lambo. This is what it really is.
Yes.
It's about, go ahead.
No, like it's about being humble in the process and humility. My mom gave me this word for my birthday 6 months ago.
Okay.
And she said, you are going to be everything you want to be.
Wow. Wow. I like that.
The one thing that could hurt you is if you are not humble.
Wow. That's good.
And I didn't realize that life was preparing to teach me humility.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So
yes.
that's what the past 6 months has been. I don't think we're done with the lessons in humility.
It's got to come. It's got to come.
Got to come. But what I've seen is that Shana has been refined. The business has been refined. And the steps that I've made have been a result of that process.
Yes. And your clients are going to reap the benefits of that.
So just trust in the process, like trust in the process. But more than anything, if I had to leave a final thought, you have to bet on yourself. You have to believe in yourself. I had a conversation with one of my clients who's been working with me for about a year.
Yeah.
And I don't know what was in my spirit yesterday, but I was on one.
Wow.
I was like, and I said to him, I don't care what coaches you work with, myself included. I love and respect coaches, but at the end of the day, if you are not willing to put in the work to own your story, to own what you want to do and own your vision, none of what we have to say matters.
That's it. There's no magic button. There's no magic skill. You have got to do it. It's got to be something on the inside.
Yes.
I love it. Last question, most important question is, how do people get in contact with you?
So if you, so I professionally speak. So if you would like to, have me come out to something for you, I would love for you to visit shanarobinson.ca, because I have one website that's dedicated to that. And then if you are, in a space where you either need to work on your confidence and that conversation that you have with yourself, or you're ready for a personal, professional rebrand. So maybe you have a business and you know that, your selfies are no longer adequate for your brand, or your content no longer reflects your brand. Or you've been dreaming about a website and you haven't done it yet, or you just need to work on making sure that what you put on when you come on camera, like this doesn't just happen by chance. This happens because navy is one of my power colors, and burgundy is one of our colors. And, my office, this goes with everything, being very cognizant of how you are the brand in public and online. So if you want to do that, then I encourage you to visit me at rebrandyou.ca. So I'm Canadian, so it's always .ca. I will send those links to Brian, and maybe he can post it up with the live and all of that. But, I'm always open to a conversation. And I just believe that if you know that it's time for you to go to the next level, don't think about the money, because it's not about the money. It's really about, you going to the next level and what you need to do. And there's no way to get around it. CJ Quinney talks about the brand. People buy the brand. And you have to develop a brand whether you like it or not. Right. So waiting to develop your brand because you're fearful of investing in you. If you say no to you, your clients will too.
Wow. Wow. Powerful words. Powerful words. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Certified Clarity Podcast with Brian Keith. Remember, before we can strive, we must survive. Once we have mastered the strive, then we can thrive. If you would like to contact the host or any featured guest, please see the podcast show notes. Your feedback is welcome. Thank you for listening.